Hi, everyone. In today's show, I'll be sharing some astrological insights, particularly a forecast in terms of the transits that are taking place in March, particularly because we have the new moon and the full moon. But more importantly, I think the most aspected planet is Mercury, the planet of communication. So, what I want to do is to shed some insights there. But before I do any of that, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen Samuels, and I help baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically so they can thrive in their third act of life. So here we are on the cusp of a new set of transits moving through the sky. And what I want to do is to give you a bit of context in terms of what all of that means. So, the majority, in fact, all of the personal planets, that's the Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, are moving between the signs of Pisces and Aries. So we have water and we have fire. Now, this combination, this water fire combination, is set in the context in terms of what's going to unfold through the month of March. And so just think about nature when you bring water together and fire together. It could be very steamy, or water could put out the enthusiasm of fire. And so, therefore, it's a bit damp and wet and, yeah, sort of energy of the party has gone out. So, thinking about this, if Mercury, for example, which is the most aspected planet, and it's to do with communication, there could be interruptions in terms of the style of communication. Because where you have this water fire mix, there could be this sense of being impulsive in the way that you communicate. It could be quite aggressive or excitedly. One thing is for sure is that it's going to be based on the emotions, because fire is very energetic and water is very expressive. So we've got this expression that on the one hand could give you a sense of warmth in terms of communication, but on the other hand, it could be a little bit chaotic. It could actually bring out the passive aggressive way of communicating. Certainly isn't very good. But also, you could be prone to mood swings. And so there you are trying to communicate with people and then working out, well, what's happened? I didn't say anything. Why has the mood changed? So that's the backdrop. We've got this water fire element. Now, turning to the planet of Mercury, and it's the most aspected because, firstly, on the 4th of March, Mercury is making a sextile with Uranus. So, Mercury, which is in Pisces, is sextiling Uranus in Taurus. Now, Mercury isn't very happy in Pisces. The reason being is because it's in detriment, meaning that it's in the sign opposite one of the signs it rules. So it's very happy in Virgo, which is opposite Pisces, and it's very happy in Gemini. But here it is. It's in a water sign. So there's a sense of possibly confused communication, uncertainty in communication, a diffusion in communication. And you might actually be living in your imagination where everything appears to be clear. But when you want to now convey it to others, they're thinking, what exactly is that person talking about? But there's a saving grace. And the saving grace is Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus, which rules Aquarius, which is an air sign, is in Taurus. So it's in earth. So the communication of Mercury through water gets grounded. There's a structure put around what it is that you want to say. So this is quite a favorable position because it brings together the imagination, and it also brings together this sense of innovative thinking. Now, by itself, if Mercury was just floundering in water, Uranus and Taurus gives it this sense of a base and innovation. So it's a great fusion that you're able to translate the creative, innovative, inventive ideas and ground them in earth. And really, Uranus gives you this sense of distinction in terms of what it is that you want to convey. So that's happening on the 4th of March. Then Mercury moves from Pisces into Aries. Now, Mercury is moving into a fire sign. And when it moves into Aries, there's a directness in terms of communication. You're really clear about what it is that you want to say. You can't wait to get your words out there. You can't wait to share it with other people. There's a direction, there's a directness also in terms of how you may communicate. Now, you've got to be careful here that you don't come across as if you're browbeating people in terms of they are going to listen to my message, come what may. It's more about having clarity because you've moved out of the water energy where Mercury doesn't like to be, where there's that woolly thinking, into the fire of Aries, which is about being direct, it's about being energetic, being very confident in what it is that you want to convey to other people. So that's a favorable sign, and that happens on the 10th of March. And then it also grows in stature. The reason being is because Mercury on the 18th of March forms a conjunction with the North Node. And the North Node is about the future direction. It's in fire. So it's very inspirational. So all your dreams and your desires and what it is that you're planning for your third act of life, particularly as a baby boomer. And that's becoming even more prominent because at the end of 2024, at the end of this year, every baby boomer would have turned 60 years old because the age group of the demographic goes from 1946 through to 1964. So all baby boomers will hit 64. And so what does that mean in terms of where you're going with your life? Now, if you've been nursing this idea, this dream, and you've put your plan of action together from the 18th of March onwards, when Mercury makes this conjunction with the North Node, this is where everything becomes aligned, because whatever message you have, the wider public is ready to receive your message. It's that moment where the moment meets the message. So it's a very favorable time if you want to communicate something, also if you want to sell something, because Mercury is also about the merchant, selling of ideas, selling of products. But it's very much about you've closed the door on your old world, meaning if we think about Aries as well as Pisces, Pisces is the 12th sign, so it's the end of a cycle. And Aries is the first sign, which is moving into a new season. The two coming together allows you to think about what's my future direction. I can't wait to take action on it. And Aries, ruled by Mars, is a very action orientated sign. This is a good combination when Mercury conjuncts the North Node in Aries on March the 18th. Then lastly, the fourth aspect that Mercury makes is at the end of March, on the 31st of March, where Mercury is conjuncting Neptune in Pisces. Now, again, Mercury falls back into a weaker position. Why? Because it's coming into contact with the ruler of Pisces, which is Neptune. So Neptune is the stronger of the two signs because it's in the sign that it rules. So here again, there could be a tendency towards fuzzy thinking, fuzzy communication, uncertainty. But also, if you're feeling that you lack confidence, but you really want to convey something, you could slip in. This is the negative side that you need to be aware of. You could slip into possibly trying to manipulate your message or manipulate the person that you're communicating the message to, which is the negative application of this. Or conversely, you could be being deceived in terms of what is being conveyed to you. So just be aware of what is the message. Remember, you've gone through Aries, so there's a real certainty. But what is the message? What's actually going on when Mercury comes into contact with Pisces and Neptune? So that's Mercury, as I said, the most aspected planet throughout the month of March. Turning now to the 9th of March, so we're going a little bit back in time during the month. But the 9th of March is where we have Mars, which is in Aquarius, forming a square. It's a bit of half a square there, but forming this square with Uranus in Taurus. Now, this is quite a harsh aspect. And the reason being is because you've got Mars on the one hand, which is about being very energetic and assertive and wanting to do its own thing. It doesn't matter how it gets to the end result, but it's forming a square, which is an indication there's an internal combustion going on to a certain extent, but also there's a tension point, and it's coming into contact with Uranus, and Uranus is excited energy. So you've got two excitable types of planets that are butting heads with each other. And so here, the question that's being asked, where as a baby boomer do you feel constrained in your life? Or alternatively, where do you need to break free? What is it that you need to relinquish in order to free yourself in your life? Because it's the closure of one season. As I said, we've got Pisces, been through the 12 signs, comes to an end, and now we're in Aries. And we're dealing with the ruler of Aries, which is Mars. So, actually, where is it that you're feeling constrained? What part of your life do you feel that you want to rebel against? Now, if you get clarity over that and then start taking steps to move away or move out of the way of that scenario, that situation, or that person, then that's going to actually save you some heartache. Because what you don't want to do is know that you have this sense of lack of fulfillment in your life, but you've been pushed, but you haven't done anything. And now your back is against the wall. And then in this eruption of energy, you're frustrated. And therefore, you could take very rash actions that could work against you. So, where you're dealing with energetic energies, Uranus and Mars, you need to be careful because it's a square. So, where is it that you need to break free? Where is it that you need to rebel? What aspect, what area of your life that you think, you know what, it's time to close the door on that to move into something else? That's something I've recently done. There's a piece of consulting work that really wasn't lighting my fire in a particular way, and I've given them notice that, this is going to come to an end, rather than being forced into a situation where you think, you know what, I'm just doing this for the sake of doing this. I don't live my life in that way. But if you happen to be the sort of person who only takes action when you feel pushed up against the wall, then be careful of this combination when it comes to Mars as well as Uranus. That takes place on the 9th of March. Then we have the new moon, which is the sun and the moon coming together harmoniously in Pisces on the 10th of March. And so here we have a softer energy. We're being called into the softness of our lives. Whereas when we're dealing with the likes of Mars and the likes of Uranus, there's a harshness. And if we think about, the masculine and the feminine energies, those two planets speak more to the masculine energy and pushing, wanting to get things done, taking harsh actions. Whereas what we're being invited to do is to step into the feminine side of who we are, particularly with this new moon in Pisces. That's calling for a greater level of compassion and sensitivity to our own lives, but also how do we share that with other people? And so here it's a sense of, well, there's a part of my ego that I need to loosen the grip, because when we're dealing with Pisces, it's about the removal of barriers. We're trying to unify ourselves. So our conscious self with our subconscious self, our emotional identity with our external identity. We're fusing those two, but we're bringing a sense of softness. One, we want to unify internally. And then two, we don't want any separation or barrier with the outside world. And so with this new moon in Pisces, and it's on the 10th of March, it's just before we step into the new season, the new astrological season that starts on March the 21st. And then we've got the spring equinox, new beginnings, fresh starts. How can we demonstrate more empathy and compassion to what's happening around us. We could then become far more sensitized. We're able to engage with people in a way where they can bring their fragility to us and we can cradle that fragility. The one thing that all of us need to be mindful of, though, and particularly people who live in what I will describe as the people pleasing style of living, where you're always responding, you're always there, you're always catering for other people's needs, and you've forgotten your own. What can happen is you could become the martyr, you could become the savior, or you could become the victim. Why? Because when you're the martyr and the savior, you're so empathetic, you're so compassionate, you're bringing together, you're soothing everybody else's brow, but you've forgotten what your own needs are. Conversely, you could slip into the victim mode, that there's nobody here to help me, woe is me. And so where we have this new moon, new beginnings, that's entering the world of sensitivity and compassion, you need to be a little bit mindful of, I'm not going to rebel against this, but where do I need to draw maybe some softer lines, that there is a world that with you, but there are open borders, and there's a world with other people that you're encouraging engagement. So that happens. The new moon is on the 10th of March. Turning now to the 11th of March, there's so many dates, I'm just trying to keep them in order. Turning to the 11th of March, we have Venus moving into Pisces. Now, Venus loves Pisces. Venus is in her vacation home, meaning that Venus is exalted in Pisces. So it's the greatest expression of love and beauty and spirituality and divinity and a real depth of sensitivity. Venus loves being in Pisces because there's a generosity of spirit, there's a gentleness in terms of how you move through the world. There is also this, it's like the channeling of ideas flow naturally through you from a creative point of view. So it enables you to take a look at life through the creative lens. What is it that you could create that is beautiful, that's desirable, but in a way where you really want to sit back and be in awe of the creation? Now, with Venus being in Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is the higher expression of Venus. So it's a beautifully creative, sensitive, spiritual time that could be expressed in terms of love, romance, divinity, spirituality. Enters on March the 11th. Now, on March the 20th, it runs right into Saturn because it forms a conjunction. And so this sense of fluidity that Venus in Pisces, in a very natural way, wants to exude, Saturn now wants to put some borders around it. Now, Saturn is in Pisces. Saturn doesn't like being in Pisces because Saturn is about rigidity and it's about structure. And Pisces is about fluidity. And so when Saturn comes into conjunction with Venus, it's asking all of us, well, how serious are we about this creative endeavor that we want to bring to the world? How serious are we when it comes to love? How serious are we in the expression of love? What does that actually mean to us? How can we create some type of order when we're thinking of the expression of love, beauty, divinity, and spirituality and sensitivity? So it feels as if Saturn's spoiling the party, but Saturn isn't necessarily spoiling the party. Saturn is helping us to grow into another level of maturity and responsibility. And as baby boomers, we've lived 6 decades, moving into our 7th and 8th decade. So what's our interpretation now? We can look back in time because Saturn is the lord of time. What's our interpretation? What's our reflection on the meaning of love? And how are we now going to be expressing our femininity in a way that enables us to to feel seen by ourselves, but also by other people. It's the responsible side of love and romance. And what's your relationship with it? Then we have the two benefics coming together because we have Venus in Pisces forming a sextile with Jupiter in Taurus. Now, this is a wonderful combination because this combination of the sextile means that abundance, they bring abundance into our lives, and whether that's abundance financially, they are two of the signatures. When these two planets come together in a positive way, they are one of the signatures of wealth. Now, wealth could literally be financial wealth, so maybe there's money coming to you in some way, shape, or form. Or it could be abundance in terms of connections, friendships, emotionally, socially. It's a wonderful signature that when you see these two planets together and they're together in a harmonious way, that we are in the receiving mode. Life wants to gift us, the universe wants to share with us. So we're in the receiving mode. But also, it's where we can shine in terms of our social graces, having wisdom and etiquette. It's a beautiful combination. So we move through, Venus moves through Pisces, where she's shining, and then runs into contact with Saturn, where it's like, okay, let's get serious about this, and then ends her season in Pisces. And there is a connection between Venus and Jupiter. The reason being is because Venus is exalted in Pisces and Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. And so they're connected in terms of the rulerships and the exaltation, and they're connected because of the sextile. So it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful combination. Then we have the sun, which is the significator of our identity, but it's setting the tone for the new season because on the 20th of March, it enters Aries. And so there's this sense of I'm here, I've arrived. It's about being confident and assertive and bringing this energetic identity into the world because you've been through, the sun has just come through Pisces, and there's this level of sensitivity and graciousness that's been called for. Now it's about the integration of that as you are asserting yourself, as you are demonstrating your confidence, as you are leading your life in the direction that's meaningful to you. It's the start of the new season, astrological season, but it's the start of spring. We're already seeing that the sun is setting later, so we know spring's in the air. So that happens on March the 20th. And then finally, we have the full moon in Libra, and that's at 5 degrees of Libra. That takes place on the 25th of March. So the full moon in Libra, and it's a lunar eclipse as well. So that essentially means that the Earth comes between the sun and the moon. And it's a pivotal time because full moons are about endings. And when it's got the eclipse in there, it's a deeper examination of what needs to end, what needs to be released in order for you to grow and thrive. So when we're dealing with this full moon in Libra, go back to what was happening when there was the new moon in Aries. So what was happening? But let's go back to the period of October. Let's go back 6 months. What was going on? What was happening for you in your world? What seeds were planted 6 months ago? For me, I really got into a more extended period of travel. I really love traveling. So I went on a luxury tour and a cruise. So the seeds of more travel were planted for me back in October. What was happening for you in October? Whatever seeds were planted back in October or about 6 months ago, what you're looking at during this full moon in Libra, you're going to look to see the seeds that were planted, has there been a harvest? Have you seen any benefit? Are those seeds now gifting your life in some way that you think, great, okay, I can see some evidence of growth here. What I'm going to do is to double down and invest more time, effort, energy, and resources into the thing that you planted 6 months ago. So the full moon here for you could be, I'm going to do more of that because I can now see some benefits. Conversely, if what you planted 6 months ago hasn't yielded anything for you, it's the time for you to pivot. You might want to think about, well, I've given it 6 months. How much more energy and resources do I plow into this? Or has the 6 months between then and now indicated to me that this just isn't working? So it's time to pivot your world. So with a full moon in Libra, what you're seeking is balance in your life. You're not seeking this energetic push, push, push. What you're seeking is, that worked great. You're at ease with the next steps that you need to take forward, or that didn't work. I don't need to hold on to it for dear life. I've got other ideas. I've got other seeds that I can plant, want to plant, and I can begin to water them and see what they give me now in another 6 months. So there we have it. So many movements happening in the month of March. Where are you beginning to make adjustments? Which aspects of your life do you want to rebel against? And you're conscious of that needs to go or that needs to end. I'd love to hear your contribution in the comments below. Which aspects of your personality are you struggling with, or maybe in your communication? Because as I said at the beginning of this session, I said to you that we've got the energy, the context is water and fire. So thinking of water and fire and thinking about it astrologically, are we rooted in ego? Or are we looking to selflessness? Are you looking to the future aspirations, or are you seeking security? These are some of the conflicts that you might be experiencing or running into contact with. How are you now going to navigate knowing that the backdrop to what's happening in March has this fire water energy, which could be a little bit combustive, could get a bit steamy. It could be you're into mood swings. That's not really going to help you grow. That's not really going to enhance your communication. Being passive aggressive isn't going to help you. How do you move through knowing that aspects of your identity need to change? Please put your comments in the comment box below. I'd love to engage with you around all of that. As I mentioned, for me, I've let go a piece of consultancy that wasn't fueling me in a way that lights my fire. What are you going to be doing? I would love for you to communicate, for us to be in dialogue over that. And please like, share, subscribe to my channel, and invite other baby boomers who are in your life, who are looking to reinvent themselves, to come and join me, come and join us, and watch the replay here with me, Bybreen Samuels at the Smart Years. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you again next Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.